Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I almost said happy Monday. Don't know why that almost gets me, but it almost did. Simp1X, my friend, Melissa Lee, welcome in. Y'all, thank you for being here. Thank you for being mods for me. I appreciate that. Y'all rock. Thank you very much. I'm excited to have you today. It's going to be fun, right? Doing it a little bit different. Growing the stream, I guess. Let's see how it goes. Y'all, welcome in. Thank you for being here, as always. How you doing? Happy Wednesday to you. I appreciate y'all not running in terror from my messages yesterday. Oh, nothing like a good coffee slurp to start it off. I'm so good on mic. What's up, YouTube audience? Good to see y'all tuning in. Thanks for being here, guys. How's your Wednesday going? Off to a good start? Harpy, welcome in. Good to see you as well. Harpy, thank you as well for being a moderator. I appreciate you doing that. Seriously, guys, I really appreciate y'all. Whew, boy. Well, y'all, today, let's do some opening lines from books. That's kind of what I'm feeling today. What do y'all think? Blackpink, hello on YouTube. What we're going to do today is I'm going to take some suggestions from y'all for your favorite books on Amazon, and then I'm going to pull them up, and we're going to read the opening lines, and we're going to talk about why they work, why they're good, etc., etc. So y'all, if you have books that you want me to read, you want me to go to the opening lines of them, then please bring them up, and we will do exactly that. I'm a little bit biased here. I'm going to start with one of my own just to kick things off. Hey, DJ, good morning, my friend. Jack Ann, good to see you. Oh, Jack Ann, you said petition for some Alex Knight opening lines today. Well, I guess here we are, because I did pull one up to start with. How you doing? You and DJ, how y'all doing? Happy Wednesday to you. Yeah, but guys, drop any books that you like, that you're fond of, in chat, and I will grab them here on Amazon, and we will read through them and talk about why their opening lines work. So, to be a little bit biased here, we'll start with one of mine. This is the guinea pig to kick it off, right? Um, so we have Wriggly Little Hands. Y'all might know this book. Um, let's talk about the opening lines on it, huh? There's our cover. Shadow of the Gods. I have not, Simp. The Shadow of the Gods. We'll get that in there. There we go. It's first on our list. And it will remain open for more, but let's start here. Here we go. We'll just jump right into it. Impage, good morning, buddy. Good to see you. Welcome in, dude. Hope your Wednesday's off to a good start. We're going to do some opening lines today, and I'm going to dive right into it. So, here's the opening lines of Wriggly Little Hands by yours truly. Goblins look like if cats, hairless cats, had thumbs and learned to walk on two legs. But while cats are allowed to commit as many crimes as they want, on account of being cute and small, the same hasn't been true of goblins ever since they discovered arson. Today, however, it wasn't goblins setting fire to everything. Ollie had been excited at first, when so many new friends had shown up on the plains of abandoned hope and paralyzing fear. He'd been even more excited when he'd noticed all the fun siege engines and war mammoths they'd brought along. But then his new friends, the Bright Queen and her army of the just, had laid siege to his old friends, the Dark Lord and his legions of smoldering shadow. In Goblin society, it was polite to greet new neighbors with a nice newt cake or a fresh pot of warmed mud. In human society, it seemed wanton slaughter was the go-to. That was how the Bright Queen had decided to introduce herself to the Dark Lord, at least. And who was Ollie to judge? So there we go. Opening lines of Wriggly Little Hands, and we'll talk about them a little bit. But here, I see we got some suggestions, so let me add those to the list real quick. 1984 says Griffin Dorky. Yeah, we can do that. Throw that on the list. Good to see you, Griffin Dorky. Welcome back. How could I forget that name? Slendy, you want to do Levin Thumps Book 1? We can do that. Thumps Book 1. Raffi, what was that? Mermaid Confidential by Tim Dorsey. I've never heard of that one. Tim Dorsey, I think it was? Yeah, okay. And the last one was Ashfall by Mike Miller. Now, I think I've read that one. That sounds familiar. Good morning, Leisha. Good to see you. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Hope your week's going good. Up, Jack Ann, you got one as well. Darkblade, Assassin by Andy Peliquin. Never heard of that guy. Alright, there we go. Good list. Thank you, guys. We'll jump into those in a minute. Since we started it off with one of my books, I'm not going to say why these lines are good. That might be a bit presumptuous of me. I am going to say why I think they're good and tell you what I was trying to do. Yvorix, Cradle by Will White. Yeah, we can get that. I just added it to the list. So what I was trying to do with this one, I wanted a funny line off the bat. So goblins look like if cats, hairless cats, had thumbs and learned to walk on two legs. It's a nice visual, you know. I think it kind of fits our little image right here. And then, but while cats are allowed to commit as many crimes as they want on account of being cute and small, the same hasn't been true of goblins ever since they discovered arson. Again, just leaning into the cute, goofy aesthetic right off the bat, but then I wanted to make you ask a question to yourself, so I pivot into the today, however, it wasn't goblins setting fire to everything. I feel like that makes the reader ask a little question, you know? Well, it's true, Rappy, right? Cats are allowed to commit as many crimes as they want. We pardon them for a lot of misbehavior. So yeah, and then it pivots into a little bit of explanation as we kind of set the scene for the story. So there's Wriggly. I think it's got a decent opening line at least. Cats and dogs, Slendy. Yeah, you're spot on. JPLB96 on YouTube. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. I'm not familiar with that one, man. Where's that from? And Jake Hartman, good to see you, my friend. It's been a little while. How you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Oh, is that 1984's opening line? Griffin Dorky? I didn't remember that. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Let's pull it up. It feels repetitious to put George Orwell at the end of that, right? Like it was fine. We all knew what book I was looking for. All right, so there we go. There's the cover. We'll pull that up for a minute. Oh, the big eye on it, man. That thing is haunting. You see it all the time. Raffi, you wanted Hitchhiker's Guide. I do love. We did Hitchhiker's Guide on the last stream, but I'm such a sucker for it. We'll do it again. I love talking about that one. Alba, who is Dragon Watch by? Let me know. Let me know the author. Slendy, I did get yours. I think I forget what it was, but I did grab it. Oh, you've never actually seen the 1984 cover, Jackhand? Yeah, they change it all the time because there's so many re-releases, but it's almost always a big eye of some sort. Like, here, let's pull up, let's just go back and see the other covers that come up. Yeah, it's always some variant of a giant eye, Big Brother is watching. I swear they just re-release it like every other year with another creepy eye on the cover. Oh, that one's cool. Y'all, this is kind of a new one, huh? I've not seen this cover for it. That's cool, man. That's so much cooler than just the eye. I love it. Chat's moving already. Let me make sure I get all these comments. Griffin Dorky, okay, you said Striking 13 is just so slightly off and ominous. It does. I'm excited to talk about it. Alba, you said it's Dragon Watch by Brandon Mole. All right, added to the list. You got it. Almost Xander says A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows is one of your favorite books. I've never heard of that. Let's add it to the list. A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. Oh my god, Jackie, that's terrifying. Someone has a bookcase somewhere that's just a shelf with 1984 eyes. Oh, good lord. Good morning, Cat Dead. Good to see you. You're throwing Kingdom Come by Mark Wade onto the list. Rock on. Oh, Tiny Toes, thank you, my friend. You said I looked up your books and decided I wanted to get one. Any recommendations on which to get? I would definitely recommend starting with right here, Wriggly Little Hands. I think that's a really solid one to start with. Can't go wrong with that one. It's my favorite. I think it's really funny. It's heartwarming. It's about goblins on a road trip to save the Dark Lord and all the wonderful, wacky ways they messed that up. That'd be my recommendation if you're going to start with one. But thank you for looking into it. I appreciate that. Let's pop back here. Alrighty. I got a full list of books to go with, so let me add this. I saw one more come in. 3 by Ted Decker. Ted Decker. All right, we're gonna call the list there for a minute as we go read through all of these. Jake Hartman, you said, are we doing opening lines? Empire of Silence. All right, Jake, you're an OG stream fan, so we'll throw that on there as well. Now let's tear through some of these. We'll use the better 1984 cover. And let's get these opening lines and talk about it. Hey, thank you for the follows, folks. I appreciate that. Happy Wednesday to you. Let's read the opening lines of 1984 and see what we think about them. Melissa, that's your next bookshelf goal? Terrifying. All right. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansions, though not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. Interesting, y'all. I don't remember the book having dashes and striking and entering. It's got like a dash on the end of it. That's interesting. I love this opening line though. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Immediately get your interest, right? It makes you. I mean, right, what I always say, you got to get the reader to ask a question. I'm immediately asking myself, why are the clocks striking 13? Also, why are there dashes on the INGs? But you're right, Griffin Dorky. It immediately sets you on edge, right? It's almost like a bit of a suspense movie kind of beginning and making you wonder. Let's do one more paragraph of it. The hallway smelt of boiled cabbage and old rag mats. Well, that's horrible. At one end of it, a colored poster, too large for indoor display, had been tacked to the wall. It depicted simply an enormous face, more than a meter wide, the face of a man about 45, with a heavy black mustache and ruggedly handsome features. Winston made for the stairs. It was no use trying the lift. Even at the best of times, it was seldom working, and at present the electric current was cut off. I accidentally scrolled. Was cut off during daylight hours. It was part of the economy drive in preparation for Hate Week. Y'all, this is such a good opening. Just such a good opening. Everything here is just, there's just little detail after little detail that's just telling you this world is a little bit off, right? I love it. It's so ominous. And then to end this paragraph with, in all caps, Big Brother is watching you. Incredible. There's a reason this book's a classic, and it's not just because of good writing, but it's definitely part of it. That's awesome. Excellent one. Thank you for suggesting that. It's been too long since I've read it. I'm overdue for a read of it, though. I'm not sure if I could even stomach it in this day and age. Yeah, incredible book. Incredible opening. Jake says a hallway of boiled cabbage and rag mats sounds like something in Wrigley Little Hands. Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. Although I doubt, I hesitate to even suggest I could write something as good as that. Paranisi by Susanna Clark. We can throw that on there. Someone else, where was it? There was a comment that I wanted to reply to. I mean, I want to reply to them all, but they're flying. Dylan, good morning, my friend. Tofu, what's up? How you doing? Where was it? Almost Xander, you said it's your first time here, but you kind of stumbled in, and you're glad you did. Well, I'm glad you did too, buddy. Welcome in. Glad to have you. Tide and Tara, good to see you. Happy Wednesday, folks. We have got quite a list of titles already, so I'm going to say, Tide and Tara, you're a regular, so we'll take one more from you. We have done Name of the Wind, and we have done Red Rising, but Red Rising was absolutely epic the last time we did it, so we're going to pull that on there again. Number one Mouse Rat fan. Great name. The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. All right, we'll grab those, and we'll run with this for a minute. All right, let's keep moving here. The next one that was asked was Shadow of the Gods. I didn't get an author name, but that name seems distinctive enough. Yeah, it's a John Gwynne book. I should have known that. Let's pull up. I always love this cover, man. It's so cool. Look at this cover. That's just awesome, dude. I know that we got powerful main characters and stuff in these books, but like I can't help but look at this cover and go, this little dude's just done, man. He doesn't even qualify as a snack for this dragon. So let's see. Let's read the. I've not read this John Gwynne book. Oh boy, gonna be some small font on this one. Nice little map at the beginning. Always love a map. All right, Chapter 1, Orca. I want to read that as Okra. Is my southern showing? You said this book got you back into books, Simp1X? Or is that a different book? Let me know. The year 297 of Friederold, The Age of Peace. That's a little subtext for the beginning of it. Death is a part of life, Orca whispered into her son's ear. Even though Brekka's arm was drawn back, the ash spear gripped tight in his small, white-knuckled fist, and the spearhead aimed at the reindeer in front of them. She could see the hesitation in his eyes, in the set of his jaw. He is too gentle for this world of pain, Orca thought. She opened her mouth to scold him, but a hand touched her arm. A huge hand, where Brekka's was small, rough-skinned where Brekka's was smooth. Wait, Thorkel breathed through his braided beard, a cold misting of breath. He stood to her left, solid and huge as a boulder, muscles bunched in Orca's jaw, hands worked already in her throat. Hard words, and needed for this hard world. Yo, this font's so small. Sorry, I'm trying here. Can I zoom it? The preview's a little weird. I don't think I can zoom too well. All right, but that's enough. We can talk about it. So this puts us right into the scene, right into an opening scene. Nothing wrong with that. Personally, I do tend to prefer books that just kind of get on with it. Just jump on in there, you know. Death is a part of life is an opening quote for sure. Oh, there is a magnifying glass. That's probably a search thing, though. Yeah, that's a search. And then we immediately get a relationship of there we go. The Control Plus worked. I tried to use a Control scroll wheel to zoom, but that didn't work. But Control Plus did. So thank you, Leisha. Appreciate that. Yeah, the Control zoom didn't work in the preview for some reason. Yeah, so death is a part of life's the opening quote. That'll get your attention right away. And then we have somebody, a mentor figure and a child on a hunt, and thoughts of the child being too gentle for the pain of this world. That immediately tells you about the world, doesn't it? Makes you want to wonder about what is the pain of this world. Yeah, I think it's a solid opening. It's not my favorite, and I know we got some real powerful ones on the list today, but it's solid, very, very solid for fantasy. It's kind of what you'd expect. And I know John Gwynne has some incredible writing, so I know the rest of the book will deliver. All right, here's another classic we got recommended. It's been a while since I've read this one. Let's undo my zoom. 11 Thumps, Book 1. I've always loved this title, y'all. It's so playful and interesting. Let's grab Book 1 instead of the box set. It's been a long time since I read this one, but let's see if I remember any of it. A great cover. Very, very YA, very middle grade. Love it. It just always catches my this guy always catches my attention right here. Ethan, we have done The Gunslinger by Stephen King many times now, actually. I think we've done it every time we've done this stream because it's so popular and it's a great opening, Powerful one. Oh, this is an interesting format for the preview. Wow, and a short preview. Okay, that was like something else. That was like an inside cover flap. Here we go. Alright, we're going to zoom it too because spare my old eyes. Hold please, I scrolled too far. Wow, the zoom totally changed the layout for all this, but we'll get there. There it is. There it is, folks. We did it. All right, the opening lines of 11 Thumps. I didn't grab the author. Obert Sky. Chapter 1, The Beginning. It was at least 40 degrees above warm. Oof. I feel it, y'all. Being from Florida, living in Houston, I feel that. I feel that bad. It was at least 40 degrees above warm. The day felt like a windowless kitchen where the oven had been left on high for an entire afternoon. Heat beat down from above and sizzled up from the dirt as the earth let off some much-needed steam. The sky had decided it had quite had enough, thank you, and had vacated the scene, leaving the air empty for the heat. Except for the heat. No matter how wide a person opened his mouth that afternoon, or how deep a breath was taken, there just wasn't enough oxygen in the air to breathe. The few remaining plants in people's gardens didn't droop. They passed out. And the flags that only days before had hung majestically on top of local flagpoles no longer looked majestic. They looked like multicolored pieces of cloth that had climbed up and tragically hung themselves. Oh boy. Alright then. That's so this is an interesting one. Obviously you got a laugh out of me. I love the description in there. I feel it all too real, being from the Sun Belt. Very good description right off the bat. This one's kind of interesting because it's almost got a little bit of a YA trope going on, in that I need to study this a little bit more, but I feel that YA books are allowed to start a bit differently. I feel like a lot of new adult fiction, a lot of adult fiction has to get you immediately with a really strong opening line, and it almost feels like YA gets a different set of rules. Simp, we can definitely do that one. We'll throw that on there. Never heard of that one. Now, it feels like YA almost has a different set of rules. Joey, YA means young adult. And I'll just give a quick overview of acronyms I might use. MG is middle grade, so that's like middle school, basically, for us Americans. YA is young adult. That's a little bit older. That's kind of like 7th grade up into young high school. Middle grade can drop down as well into like 4th and 5th grade if they're advanced readers. Maybe even younger than that. But so middle grade MG, YA, YA, and then adult fiction is just called adult, and new adult is kind of an emerging genre between YA and adult, but yeah, there's a little bit more to it than that. I don't fully understand it though. I need to research it a bit more. I just know it's an up and coming thing. Anyway, I think that YA, young adult books, they have a little bit of a different set of rules that they get to follow in their openings. They don't have to grab you like with an immediate punchy first line. A lot of them do. But like sometimes it's okay just to kind of set a scene. They get a little more breathing space, and that's what this one does. I mean, it gets your attention with it was at least 40 degrees above warm. But I think it really takes off with, where was it? The sky had decided that it had quite had enough, thank you, and had vacated the scene, leaving the air empty except for heat. I think that's a really good one. It's just scene setting. It's a little bit of character building. It's a solid start. Hey, 11 Thumps by Obert Sky. Another one that I need to reread. Y'all, my to-be-read list is going to get so big because of this. Thanatos, good morning, my friend. Good to see you. Derek, thank you for the follow, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Izzy, you said you should check out the prologue and first chapter of The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. All right, we'll put that on there. Holly Black. We got a long list to get through here, so we'll keep on trucking. Derek, Tinder is the Flesh. We haven't done enough horror on here, so we'll do that. Let's grab our next book, y'all. I forget who suggested it, but we have. I think this might have been Raffi or Sloyd, maybe. Mermaid Confidential by Tim Dorsey. I've not heard of this one now. This is totally new to me. Thank you for the follows, y'all. Appreciate you. All right. Here we go. Mermaid Confidential. The name puts me in the thought of like a YA book, almost like one of those adventure books. Maybe even the vein of like a Goosebumps. Something like that. It's a cool cover, though. It's simple, but I like it. It looks fun. Makes me think it's a comedy almost. Lighthearted, if nothing else. Let's pull it up. Let's grab that sample. He's got a lot of also writtens in there. I love that font, dude. That's a cool font. Kind of like diner-esque, 1950s. It is a comedy, Raffi? Okay, sick, man. I'm a big comedy fan. Isabel, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I love the spelling of your name. I think it's such a cool way to spell Isabel. It's just, it's so fantasy. All right, Chapter 1 of Mermaid Confidential by, what was it? Tim Dorsey, I believe. Yeah, Tim Dorsey. The month before, somewhere over the Atlantic. All right, cool. Setting the scene right off the bat. Is there a prologue for this, Raffi, that's not included here? Interesting. Well, we got Chapter 1. Down below, a puffy blanket of bright sugar-white clouds stretched to the horizon. The Learjet continued due north on its 3-hour journey. It was the kind of private jet favored by corporate boards for business travel, but this one had been converted into an expensive toy. The regular seating was replaced by a wet bar, big screen TV, lounge chairs, and a spacious couch that was often used as a bed, and not for sleeping. All right, fair play. The jet dropped through the clouds, revealing an emerald ocean. Ahead in the distance, a long ribbon of archipelago extended west to east across the horizon. The lone passenger stared down from his window at the tiny charter boats, as he did on all these trips. He subconsciously thought, what kind of fish are they catching? Should I take up the sport? What type of shoes are required? From habit, upon approach to the shore, he got up and poured himself 2 fingers of Diplomatico Venezuelan rum from a green sea glass bottle. Then he joined the pilots up front for the view out of the cockpit windows. All right, so got a lot of scene, a lot of character setting in here. I feel like the author is showing how out of touch the main character is with his thoughts of he sees fishing boats and he thinks, what kind of fish are they catching? Should I take up the sport? What type of shoes are required? I feel like the sort of fishing boats that you're going to see flying over the ocean are not sport fishers, right? They're primarily going to be like industrial fishing boats. I don't think those guys are down there for sport. They're probably fishing for a livelihood, right? I feel like it's, and I haven't read this, so I don't know, but I feel like the author is showing how out of touch the main character is with, the world of manual labor, by him seeing a bunch of fishing boats, and his first thought is, I should take that up as a fun hobby sometime. But yeah, no, I like the sentence that really caught me in here and keyed into it being comedy was the regular seating was replaced by a wet bar, big screen TV, lounge chairs, and a spacious couch that was often used as a bed and not for sleeping. All right, Tim, I see what you're putting down. Yeah, no. I dig it. That's a good opening. Raffi, you say this is very much an out-of-touch rich character in this opening chapter. I see it. All right, well done, Tim Dorsey. I would be excited to read more. I like it. That was fun. Let's keep the list going here. All right, we got a dramatic title next. Gearbox, my friend. Yes, we are reading opening lines. I don't remember the opening of The Martian. If it's something I can't read on stream, then let me know. But if it is, we can toss it on the list. But next we got up Ashfall by Mike Miller. It's a dramatic name. Let's see. Mike Mullen. And maybe it auto-corrected when it was submitted. Cool cover. I'm getting like Roman vibes, probably because of the purple. Mayor Bear, good to see you. Welcome in. We can throw that on the list. It's a pretty long list so far, so we probably need to stop taking suggestions for the moment. But we'll put that one on there. The title's got my attention. That's right, Gearbox. I remember that. I remember that opening line. Melissa, you love this book? Interesting. I've not heard of it. It's a dramatic. Is this about... All right, so I'm getting Roman vibes from the cover, right? And I was gonna say, is it about Pompeii, based on the Roman vibes in the title Ashfall? That's kind of what. No, it's not. It looks like it's post-apocalyptic. Interesting. I'm getting really Roman vibes from this. I don't know why. Anyway, let's grab that sample. This is Ashfall by Mike Mullen. Chapter 1, starting with a quote. Civilization exists by geological consent, subject to change without notice. Well, that's ominous. How's that for an opening? I was home alone on that Friday evening. Those who survived know exactly which Friday I mean. That's perfect right there. Love those. That is a heck of a 1-2 punch. I was home alone on that Friday evening. Those who survived know exactly which Friday I mean. That's a perfect 2 sentences to start. What a hook, right? That immediately gets your attention. Everyone remembers where they were and what they were doing, in the same way my parents remembered 9/11, but more so. Together we lost the old world, slipping from that cocoon of mechanized comfort into the hellish land we inhabit now. The pre-Friday world of school, cell phones, and refrigerators dissolved in this post-Friday world of ash, darkness, and hunger. Yeesh, that's ominous. I love it. I love that right there. That feels like the pitch for the whole series right there. The pre-Friday world of school, cell phones, and refrigerators dissolved into this post-Friday world of ash, darkness, and hunger. Absolutely love it. But that Friday was pretty normal at first. I argued with Mom again after school. That was normal too. We fought constantly. All right, so we're building some characters right here, building some relationships. The topics were legion. My poor study habits, my video games, my underwear on the bathroom floor, whatever. I remember a lot of those arguments. That Friday they only fueled my rage. Now they're little jewels of memory I hoard, hard and sharp under my skin. Now I'd sell my right arm to a cannibal to argue with Mom again. Great world building right there. I love that. This is a good opening for sure. Especially with the little quote here. Civilizations exist by geological consent, subject to change without notice. This seems great. I love the way it starts. Sets the scene perfectly. Like I said, the opening 2 sentences are just absolutely perfect. I was home alone on that Friday evening. Those who survived know exactly which Friday I mean. That really stands out. I love that. Rock on. Mike Mullen, Ashfall. Y'all, they're, breaking it down. Mike's getting our attention with those 2 opening sentences, and then just giving us this ominous, looming, apocalyptic event. Makes you wonder what's going on. And then what I love is when it talks about this apocalyptic event, but then it stops for a minute and it rewinds a little bit, and it's like talks about that Friday morning, how normal it was at first, argued with mom like we always do, blah blah blah, and then brings you back to the present with the now those arguments are little jewels of memory I hoard hard and sharp under my skin. Now I'd sell my right arm to a cannibal to argue with mom again. Oh, that painful I don't know, reminiscing, just thinking back to how it used to be. I can totally sympathize with that, right? I can feel that when you think back to like some treasured memory and you're just like, God, I wish those days were back again. Yeah, this feels like this book's gonna hurt. Very good. Wicked Lady, I know what you're trying to say. Oin Colfer. Artemis Fowl. Eoin Colfer. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, but I know what you're trying to say. I got you. Rock on. All right, there's Ashfall by Mike Mullen. Let's keep the list rolling, y'all. Next, I'm going to jump. We had a suggestion here for a certain little book, so let's pull it up. I appreciate the suggestion here. If y'all don't know, I wrote this one. Thank you. Who suggested it? I forget who it was. Was it Simp1X, I think, suggested this one? Thank you for that. Here, we'll do The Far Wild. And since I wrote this one, I'm not going to tell you why it's good, because that would be a bit presumptuous. I'm going to tell you what I was going for with it. Anna, yes, I do have a running list of suggestions. As a quick review, what we have on the list right now is Darkblade Assassin by Andy Peliquin, Cradle by Will White, Hitchhiker's Guide by Douglas Adams, Dragon Watch by Brandon Mull, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance, Kingdom Come by Mark Wade, 3 by Ted Decker, Empire of Silence, Piranesi by Susanna Clark, Red Rising by Pierce Brown, The Beasting by Paul Murray, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, or is it Mass? Cruel Prince by Holly Black, Tender is the Flesh, which is a maybe because it might be too explicit. I'll have to read it ahead of time. Tomorrow, and then Artemis Fowl. So that's our running list. We got a long one, but we'll get through those. And at the moment, we are doing The Far Wild. Here's the cover, and let's do the opening lines. Chapter 1, Senecio. So immediately off the bat, if I'm just going to analyze this as if I was reading anything, and thank you, Mayor, thank you for the tiny hot dog gift. That's hilarious. Well, you know the rules, gift for a gift. So, oh, you're good, Derek. I appreciate you. I appreciate you looking out for me. Mayor, you know the gifts, so you give a gift, you get a gift. So here's a goblin for you. Thank you for the tiny. There's a goblin for you. Remember, don't feed it after midnight, and hide your matches. They have a penchant for arson. All right, So if I'm analyzing this, immediately when I see a character name right here, so you couldn't see my cursor, I've imagined it's going to be a book with multiple POV characters. So I assume we're starting with Senecio. People say the far wild is where you go to die. You'll drown on the voyage there. You'll waste away from the bleeding fever. You'll get eaten by some monstrous beast. But what else can you expect from the masses? Their ambition stops with what's for supper. The far wild's where you go to die? Ha! The far wild's where I came to live. So just analyzing that opening paragraph, I did write it, so I'm a bit biased, but let's just break it down. I'm trying to make you ask a question, and I'm trying to get your attention. So the title of the book is The Far Wild. The opening line is, people say the far wild is where you go to die. But can we trust those people? Are they wrong, maybe? Oh, here's all the wonderful ways you'll die. You'll drown on the voyage there. You'll waste away from the bleeding fever. You'll get eaten by some monstrous beast. But what else can you expect from the masses? I love pulling us into the main character's POV immediately. As he talks about all these horrible ways you'll die, and then he's like, but that's what other people think. What else can you expect for them? I don't want much, just wealth beyond measure, fame beyond reason, and maybe a small kingdom somewhere warm. And as the quickest blade this side of the empire, with a devilish charm and the looks to match, I might add, it's only a matter of time before the masses are singing songs of my glory, singing songs of Senecio Suleiman Nicolau. So there's the opening of The Far Wild. I'm obviously introducing a bit of an egotistical character. This guy right in here. I like to say, y'all, he's the Empire's most beloved adventurer. or perhaps its most successful con man, and I'll leave that up for you to decide. But yeah, there we go. There's the Far Wild, and you can grab it on Amazon if that interests you. All right, Anna, you said, can we please add 11/22/63? I am familiar with that, and we'll throw it on there. I think the list is getting long enough we might not get to these, but we'll put it on there and see if we can't make some good time through there. House Blackfire. I've never done a web novel, but we could do that. Hit me with the title. We'll see if we can get to it in time. But next we have up Dark Blade Assassin by Andy Peliquin. Why did I type the "by" in the search result? I think specifically book 1 was it been called out. So we get in book 1 here. Yeah, book 1. There we go. All right, let's grab that cover. Looks dramatic. Looks cool. Rafi, you said the Far Wild opens with what, why, how, and who in that order? Well, thank you. I guess it does. I didn't think about that. All right. It's a cool cover. Very dramatic. Near photorealistic original art. Always love to see that. We got a quote on the front. Dark, brooding classic. The horror... What does it say? It's hard. It's a bit... I can't read it. It's a bit pixelated. But hey, maybe the text won't be. Let's get in there. The hunter belongs amongst the best. There we go. I can read. It's less pixelated on this one. So let's get Darkblade Assassin by Andy Peliquin. Chapter 1. Dead men lurked in ambush for the hunter of Voramus. Had they been more capable or cunning, they might have survived the night. A 1-2 punch. I love it, y'all. I love a 1-2 punch. You set up a statement, and then you bring it home with an uppercut. Dead men lurked in ambush for the hunter of Voramus. Had they been more capable or cunning, they might have survived the night. Love it. Great start. Or given him a challenge, at the very least. Surprise attacks carried an immense weight of advantage, even against him. With a properly laid trap, one of the armed hulks crouching in the darkness of the port could have walked away from this night's work alive, and with a story to boast that they had slain the notorious, ruthless hunter. But these were sailors and roustabouts, not killers. Not intentional killers. Watcher knew how many unfortunate souls had died within the reeking, infested cargo hold of the Medora. Their competence lay in knots and sails, the wisdom of reading the winds, ocean currents, and skies over the frozen sea. Hands roughened by hauling on ropes could crack skulls or break bones, certainly. But purposely taking another man's life, that was another matter entirely. There was an art to dealing death. I can't think of a better place to cut the beginning and talk about it, y'all. Dramatic. Definitely I'm getting like a dark fantasy vibe from it, which I think is pretty spot on from what I saw of the review on the cover, the blurb. No, like I said, I love the opening with the dead men lurked in ambush for the hunter of Aramis. Had they been more capable or cunning, they might have survived the night. It's a great 1-2 punch, and then if you add to it with, or given him a challenge at the very least, like that sets up the character really well. I really like how it's a lot like the Far Wild. If it sets up a bit of an egotistical character, but maybe that ego is deserved. And then I love the way the character is just rationally breaking down, like, but these guys are just sailors. They're not intentional killers. They're strong, sure, but they're sailors. They don't know the art to dealing death. Very good, very dramatic. I would definitely want to read more of this dramatic main character who knows his trade very well, apparently. Yeah, it's dark, it's dramatic, it's a good opening. Rock on, Andy Peliquin. Sam Shell, good to see you. Happy Wednesday to you. How you doing today? Thanks for stopping by. We got quite the list of opening lines today, but we've been doing some good ones. All right, let's pivot from the dark to the comedic. We're gonna do one of my all-time favorites here, which I'm glad got recommended. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Spoiler alert, I have read this one many times over. I guess we'll take the omnibus edition right here. And we'll grab the sample, but let's grab our cover. Always a wacky cover on a Douglas Adams book. They're always a little bit bizarre. But that's a nice one. I like it. How polite of this robot to be handing off the tea to that alien limb. Goofabouts, you said, good morning. I'd like to suggest Jitterbug Perfume by Tom Robbins. We've gotten that one a lot today, so I'll add it to the list. Tom Robbins. Grandmaster Sam said, what would you say is your most reread book? Most reread Jurassic Park. I've reread Jurassic Park so many times, and The Lost World. I do love that book. Feeling like another reread to do. Hitchhiker's Guide's up there, though. Definitely. Yeah, and welcome in, everybody. I appreciate you joining me today. Today we're doing opening lines, so suggest your favorite book, and we'll read the opening lines, and I'll give my opinion as an author. I'll break down what they're doing in the opening lines, why it works, etc., etc. But welcome in, folks. Appreciate you being here. We stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. And if you don't know me, I'm author Alex Knight. I've been writing full-time since 2018, and I got a bunch of books out there, but... oh, well, good timing, Carlos. You ask, what have I written, right, as I'm getting to that part. These are my book ones right here. The bottom row is Lit RPG, the top row is Fantasy, and my most recent one that I'm kind of making a push for these days is Wriggly Little Hands. It is a comedy fantasy about goblins on a road trip to save the Dark Lord, but... well, they're goblins, so they mess it up in many numerous wacky ways. It's a fun book, very silly, and you can get it on Amazon. It's there on ebook, paperback, audiobook on Audible, or the link in my bio has signed copies you can grab from my local bookstore. So those are my books, and we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And also, y'all, special news on Friday. We do Fantasy Map Friday, so come back in 2 days' time. We will be making a fantasy map live on stream. It's this one up here. It's the one we've been working on, and we'll keep building it. But we have an opening line to read from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Ah, what a book. Love this series. Millie, good morning. Good to see you. How you doing? Melissa, you said Pet Sematary once a week, every week, my entire high school career. Oh, boy. Yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book. There's a good song based on it. If you're into metal, Ice Nine Kills has a song called Funeral Derangements based on Pet Sematary. It's great, especially if you love Stephen King books. All right, so let's do a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm going to skip the unhelpful remarks from the author, which is a hilarious way to put that, and get into Chapter 1. Hopefully it's in the preview. Come on. There we go. All right. Melissa here, I'll put it in Discord for you. I'll put it in general chat for you. Man, derangements is a hard word to spell now that I'm actually trying to do it. It's very much a metal song, though, so if you're not into metal, you probably won't like it. All right, let's read the opening lines. I know these are good. Oh, man. Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 92 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty neat idea. I don't have my watch on. I was going to hold it up. I have a digital watch. This planet has, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Most of the people living on it were unhappy for pretty much of the time. Many solutions were suggested for this problem, but most of these were largely concerned with the movements of small green pieces of paper, which is odd because on the whole it wasn't the small green pieces of paper that were unhappy. And so the problem remained. Lots of the people were mean, most of them were miserable, even the ones with digital watches. I feel called out. I feel called out after that one. Just a classic opening, and I always got to skip ahead whenever I read this. Because there's a line in here that just gets me every time. Many were increasingly of the opinion that they'd all made a big mistake in coming down from the trees in the first place. And some said that even the trees had been a bad move, and that no one should have ever left the oceans. I just love the comedy right off the bat. Adam's just hitting us with the goofs. But But no, it's just, this is a great opening because, I mean, one, it's funny, right? So you're going to be laughing. But I love what he's doing here with the far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. It's just, that is our entire existence, right? This Earth is all we know for the most part. That is our entire existence. And in the opening sentence, Adam's just like, insignificant, uncharted backwater, and it immediately establishes our place in this world that he's creating. Kind of poking fun at us, especially with the line, whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty neat idea. I think this is just perfect. He's telling us exactly what the tone of the book is going to be. It takes a minute to kind of get to the main character, but that's Adam's style. It's very meandering. I love... here's just one more goof in here because I'm seeing it as I go. We introduce a character, and then one Thursday, nearly 2,000 years after one man had been nailed to a tree for saying how great it would be to be nice to people for a change, a girl sitting on her own in a small cafe in Ricksmanworth suddenly just realized what it was that had been going wrong all this time, and she finally knew how the world could be made a good and happy place. This time it was right, it would work, and no one would have to get nailed to anything. Sadly, however, before she could get to a phone to tell anyone about it, a terrible, stupid catastrophe occurred, and the idea was lost forever. This is not her story. That blindsides me every time. But it is the story of that terrible, stupid catastrophe and some of its consequences. It is also the story of a book called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not an Earth book, never published on Earth, and until the terrible catastrophe occurred, never seen or even heard of by any Earthmen. Nevertheless, a wholly remarkable book. What a great opening. It's like almost a prologue from Adams. It's goofy, it's fun, it sets the scene. Masterful. That there's a confidence that you need to open a book like this. To open a book in a meandering way is a they tell you need to catch people right off the opening line. You need to get right to the characters in the story. I mean, I say that. But Adams is just so in command of, he knows what he's doing here. He's like, yeah, but I'm gonna open with meandering prose and some goofy jokes. And it works. Exactly. Yeah, Brando Rando, you're spot on, my dude, and welcome in. He knows what he's doing, and he captures the vibe immediately. It's great. Adams was like, y'all sit down. I'm going to sell you a book on vibes alone. Derek, he said I should do audiobooks, so I appreciate you. That's very kind of you. Man, that's hard work. I don't know if I could do it. They read all day long. But it's not just reading to enjoy. It's reading to entertain. That's tough. I respect them. All right, so that was Hitchhiker's Guide. Y'all, we're getting through this list. All right, chat. I'm gonna let you guys pick the next one we're gonna do. Let's have a quick vote on this. We have Cradle by Will White. Y'all might know that one. Or Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Which of the two do you want to get to first? Cradle or Red Rising? We got progression fantasy, or we have sci-fi. I see one for Red Rising. I see one for Cradle, two for Cradle. Look, we got two for Cradle, one for Red Rising, two for Red Rising, three for Red Rising. It's climbing. Four for Red Rising, three for Cradle. I'll say first to 7. Let's do that. Cradle, 4 tie. Where are we going? Mary said I do have a good audiobook voice. I appreciate y'all. That's very kind. Oh, was that another Cradle? 5 for Cradle. 6 for Cradle. One more. There it is. Derek getting Cradle over the edge. All right. Well, we'll do Red Rising as well, but we'll do Cradle first. Clorox Chewables. That's a great name. Clorox Chewables. You said I'm trying to become a writer. Help! I'm stuck in an endless loop of false starts. Clorox Chewables. I'm gonna laugh at that every time. Stuck in a loop of false starts. What I would say is sometimes the beginning, it's okay to write it last. Sometimes when you get to the end of the book, you go back to your beginning and realize that you could do it better. So what I would do is don't worry about the beginning too much. Jump to the part of the story that you're most excited to write, and do that one. Write what you're most excited for, and let it carry you from there. And then when you finish the story, swing on back to the beginning, and then write your beginning. It's okay to write it last. I often write my beginnings last. Mayor Bear, you wholeheartedly know your first chapter is getting thrown out, but just keep going. Yeah, spot on. You're absolutely spot on. Um, all right, let's do... guys, if you don't know Cradle by Will White, Will was self-pub, I believe, and he just blew up, man, with his very readable, easy-to-read, fun books. They're in the progression fantasy genre, which is kind of like Dragon Ball Z is a good way to describe it, really. This is a great book. So we read this on the last stream, but it's so popular, we gotta do it when it's mentioned. Fan favorite. Here we go. Chapter 1. It starts off with in all bold, so it's telling us this is something a little different. This isn't just typical prose. Information requested. The spiritual origin test of the Sacred Valley. Beginning report. ... Almost like a computer readout, you know? I know that this is the system talking to us, but if you're just reading the book, you're like, is that a computer readout? What's going on here? And here's the information. Twice a year, the clans of Sacred Valley test the spirits of their children. Boys and girls of 6, 7, 8 summers, even 8 summers, line up before their clan's elders. They wear clothes too formal for them, layered robes of muted color for the boys, intricate shade silk wraps for the girls. Parents line the walls nearby, anxious to hear the nature of their children laid bare. One by one, the children step before the clan's first elder. He holds a shallow bowl, twice as wide as a dinner plate, that contains nothing more than still water. But it is not water, the parents know. It is Madra, raw power of spirit, purified and distilled, the material from which souls are made. Already, I love this. This is an interesting one because the story is kicking off with explanation, which is typically an ill-advised way to begin. But when the explanation is interesting enough, maybe it works. I, as an author, don't feel confident enough to do this. But Will White sold a couple more books than me, so probably he knows what he's doing. And I really like the line about, it looks like a bowl of still water, but it's not water. The parents know. It is Madra, raw power of spirit, purified and distilled, the material from which souls are made. That is such an interesting visual. Like, the material from which souls are made. That feels important and weighty and dramatic. The first girl in line dips her hand into the bowl, shocked at the cold. A trickle of something runs out of her core, something she's never felt before, and the liquid changes. For her, the Madra sticks to her hand, surrounding her fingers like a tight glove. The first elder smiles, gives her a wooden badge marked with a shield, and declares the nature of her spirit. She has the soul of an enforcer, a guardian, and will use her great strength to protect the clan. The Madra returns to the bowl as the girl returns to her parents. She carries her badge with her. Gets us right into the ceremony, right into this moment. Shows a cool thing, an original idea. Solid start. I'm interested, do we get to chapter 1? Because, I guess this is chapter 1? Yeah, it is. So it reads a bit like a prologue off the bat. Just interesting world building and good story. Definitely check out Cradle if you like Power Gain, you like Dragon Ball Z esque vibes, etc., etc. Great book. A little bit of an atypical opening on that one. Blaze, what's up, my dude? Good to see ya. How you doing? All right. Red Rising next, I think. Let's check that out, y'all. This is a popular one. I know that this one hits hard. We read this last stream, but again, it's one of those ones that's so popular, I think it's worth doing more than once. And y'all, this one's rough. Red Rising does not pull any punches right off the bat. Here's the classic cover for it. This is the cover that I am used to knowing for it. Great book. Incredible writing right off the bat. So, sci-fi, if you're not familiar. Let's jump right into Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I'm telling you all, this one's going to hurt. Oh, this is interesting. Is this a the last time we read it, there wasn't a prologue. I'm going to skip that back to chapter 1 because, this is different than the last one we read. We didn't have quotes beforehand either. If we jump right to chapter 1, this is where it started last time. Oh, yikes, not a fan of Red Rising, huh? I think it's pretty good. Blaze, you said you've been good. Glad to hear it, man. You can finally catch a stream. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well, man. I'm doing really good. Really good, actually. Love seeing all these new faces in here. Thanks for being here, folks. Appreciate the follows, appreciate the enthusiasm, and for recommending so many awesome books. But let's keep moving through them. So, Red Rising, Chapter 1, Hell Diver. The first thing you should know about me is I am my father's son, and when they came for him, I did as he asked. I did not cry. Not when the society televised the arrest, not when the Golds tried him, not when the Greys hanged him. Mother hit me for that. My brother Kieran was supposed to be the stoic one. He was the elder, I the younger. I was supposed to cry. Instead, Kieran bawled like a girl when little Io tucked a, I always trip upon this word, Hermanthus into father's left work boot and ran back to her own father's side. My sister Leanna murmured a lament beside me. I just watched and thought it a shame that he died dancing, but without his dancing shoes. On Mars there is not much gravity, so you have to pull the feet to break the neck. They let the loved ones do it. Every time the end of that opening paragraph gets me. Yikes, I see you got opinions on Red Rising. I've only read 3/4 of it. Full disclosure, I just read it as a child and got distracted. I need to go back and reread it. But yeah, a lot of my friends love it. I enjoyed what I read. I'll have to give it another try to fully go through it. I know it gets brutal as the series goes on. But y'all, the lines that I love in this one. This is so dramatic, though. I just thought it a shame he died dancing, but without his dancing shoes. Y'all, when I first read that, I was too young to know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant. What they're talking about is when you're hanged, your feet tend to jitter and kick out. It looks like you're dancing. And then the added sci-fi detail of on Mars, there's not much gravity, so you have to pull the feet to break the neck. They let the loved ones do it. Ugh. God, man, that is a gut punch right off the bat. That's just such dramatic opening. Talk about sympathy for a character right off the bat. Justin, I'm bumping that one to the top of the list. Not all the way to the top, but we'll get there pretty quick. Because you suggested Best Served Cold by Abercrombie. I have every Abercrombie book ever written on my shelf back there. I'm a massive Abercrombie fan. So we'll definitely do that one. But yeah, there's Red Rising, y'all. 75,000 reviews. It's just sold a couple copies in its time. Sorry, TikTok says I'm inactive. I have to prove to it that I'm not. There we go. Look at that, TikTok. I'm still here. All right, so let's get to the next book, y'all. You want to do another vote on it? Let's see. Let's vote which of the two we're going to do next. I'm going to do... let's put 2 juggernauts in here. We're going to say Dungeon Crawler Carl. All right, we got to put that on the list. That makes a lot of sense. That book's popping off these days. Well-deserved as well. All right, y'all. Here's the 2 votes. We're going to vote between... It's going to be first to 5 votes, so be quick on this one. Empire of Silence or Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Empire, Piranesi. First to 5 is what we're going to do next. I'll count it off. Let me know what we think. Empire. Got 1 for Empire. 2 for Empire. 1 for Piranesi. Piranesi 2. Empire. That's 4. 1 more for Empire. Piranesi to 3. Empire 5. There it is. All right. Empire it is. That was a close one. They got close at the end. All right, so we'll do Piranesi. I hope I'm saying it right. I think I am, by Susanna Clarke. Now, I've not read this one, but... Oh, sorry, no, I'm sorry. It was Empire that won that. We'll do Empire of Silence. My fault. Let's pull it up. Yes, okay, I've done this one on my first ever book stream. We did this one. I seem to recall that I quite liked the opening. Very cool cover art. Oh yeah, it's coming back to me. I definitely remember this opening now. This is a fun one. I haven't read it though. Alright, so Chapter 1, Hadrian. Light. Period. The light of that murdered sun still burns me. I see it through my eyelids, blazing out of history from that bloody day, hinting at fires indescribable. It is like something holy, as if it were the light of God's own heaven that burned the world and billions of lives with it. Just little bit of dramatic tension in there, huh? Just a little bit of a heavy opening. I carry that light always, seared into the back of my mind. I make no excuses, no denials, no apologies for what I have done. I know what I am. All right, so breaking that down right off the bat, y'all, that's so dramatic. It's a beautiful, horrible visual. The light of a sun burning billions of lives. It was billions, right? Yeah, a billion lives with it. That's a really crazy visual. But then to pair it with, so I always talk about the 1-2 punch, right? I think that visual sets it up. That's a dramatic visual. That's the load up punch. The knockout is the I make no excuses, no denials, no apologies for what I've done. I know what I am. That immediately takes that horrific visual of like all those billions of lives being destroyed and then puts it on the main character right off the bat. Like, what a way to link those two events together and immediately show characterization. That's a great way to start it. Let's do one more paragraph. The Scoliasts might start at the beginning, with our remote ancestors clawing their way out of old Earth's system and their leaking vessels, those peregrines making their voyages to new and living worlds. But no. To do so would take more volumes and ink than my hosts have left at my disposal. And even I, who has more time than any other, have not time for that. Yeah, good opening. I think the first paragraph's still my favorite. That one just hits hard. It makes me want to know more, right? It makes me want to know more, and that's the most important thing you can do in an opening is you need the reader to ask a question in their head, because if they got a question they want answered, they're going to stick around to find out. That is how you do a hook. Yikes, you said, is Scoliast just a scholar? Yeah, I'm assuming it is. It's a new word to me. I'm assuming it's an in-universe word. It does look enough like scholars, and based on context clues, I think it is some version of scholars. Gray, you suggested the Murderbot Diaries, another good sci-fi. I'm going to pass on Murderbot Diaries today, only because we've done it every opening line stream, because it is that good. We'll give it one stream without doing it, maybe. It's a great opening, though. It's one of my favorites of all time, honestly. But that was Empire of Silence. I'm going to butcher the last name, by Christopher Ruocchio, I think. Dramatic. I like it. Heavy opening. Anna, yeah, I have 11/22/63 on the list. Next one, though, I'm gonna indulge myself a little bit, y'all. Let's pull up Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. This is one of my favorite books of all time. If you don't know Joe Abercrombie, he writes dark fiction, darkly comical, with characters that are very much morally gray, and they don't always improve. You know, characters tend to want positive change arcs. Sometimes Abercrombie's characters, despite trying to be better, end up worse. I think it's really cool. I like that. So, Best Served Cold is one of Abercrombie's standalones. It's been a while since I've read the opening, but I know that it starts pretty heavy. Oh man, I should have just clicked on to the first chapter here. There we go. No, that shouldn't be the beginning. There's something. There we go. There's more before that, right? Interesting. This is different. Oh, there we go. There's like a prologue. I was going to say, this is different from my edition. I remember where it begins. I guess clicking ahead was a mistake. Come on. There it is. I saw it. This is such a good book. Impages is a book about leftovers. Look, that might get more literal than you're thinking. Now, welcome in, folks. I appreciate you being here. Happy Wednesday to you. I'm author Alex Knight. If you don't know, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. We do different things each day, but it's always fantasy focused, talking about writing and books and life as an author. If you don't know, these are my books right here. The bottom row is Lit RPG, and the top row is fantasy. And the big one I'm pushing right now is Wriggly Little Hands. It's my newest book. It's a comedy fantasy about goblins on a road trip. It's been described as a D&D campaign where nobody put any points into intelligence, and the DM's taking a shot after every chapter. And that is definitely a good way to put it. The reviewer that wrote that made my week. But you can find it on Amazon, ebook, audiobook, paperback. And yeah, grab a copy if you're interested. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a very different tone than Best Served Cold, which is the opening line we're going to read here in just a moment. Cage, you suggested Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I believe I know that opening off the top of my head. Isn't it, when killing a nun, the most important thing is to bring an army of sufficient size? It's something like that. It's great. We'll have to do that one. Incredible opening. One of my favorites, honestly. That one, incredible opening. But first, let's do Best Served Cold. God, it's such a good opening sentence. And also, I told you Abercrombie likes his sarcastic humor, right? So the chapter title is Benna Mercado Saves a Life. What a good guy he sounds like. This opening sentence, y'all. Your opening sentence is so important in a story. Look at this opening. The sunrise was the color of bad blood. I remember the first time I read that. That just stuck in my head instantly, and I spent 3 minutes, stopped reading, and just thought about, what does bad blood look like? Is that like a body that has the life has left it and the blood has a different color to it? Is it an infected wound? What is it? It just put all those thoughts in my head, and then I just got that color, and then I thought about the sunrise, and I was like, oh God, what a horrible sunrise. Great opening line. The sunrise was the color of bad blood. It leaked out of the east and stained the dark sky red, marked the scraps of cloud with stolen gold. Underneath it, the road twisted up the mountainside towards the fortress of Fontazarmo. A little bit small text. A cluster of sharp towers, ash black against the wounded heavens. The sunrise was red, black, and gold. The colors of their profession. Love that. Give us a nice description, some really brutal imagery, and then tie it to the main characters. It was a black, red, and gold sunrise, the colors of their profession. Love that. And then you contrast it immediately with, you look especially beautiful this morning, Monza, someone says. She sighed as if that was an accident, as if she hadn't spent an hour preening herself before the mirror. Facts are facts. Stating them isn't a gift. You only prove you're not blind. She yawned, stretched in her saddle, made him wait a moment longer. But I'll hear more. Love it. Love it. Introduce the setting. Introduce the characters and their personality right off the bat. I love the way that she's just facts are just facts. You're just stating them. But I'll hear more. I love it. It's a good opening, for sure. And the book gets even better as you go. It's a very good one. Highly recommend. If you're looking to start with Joe Abercrombie, it's a standalone. It's a good place to start. All right, let's grab the next one, y'all. Piranesi did not win the vote earlier, but we'll pull it up now. So, Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Boy, I messed up that spelling. I have not read this one, but I know that it was a very popular book. Is a very popular book. So this will be new to me. I think is that the beginning right there? Part 1? I guess so. It feels like it's almost a prologue. No, that's giving me description of characters. I don't know. It seems like it is, though. It seems like that's just how it's written, maybe. Yeah, okay, so that was part 1. Back to the beginning we go, then. Oh, I love that font, y'all. Look at that. That's super cool. Roman Pens, you wanted an Oxford comma after black. I agree with you. I'm a big Oxford comma fan. Toff says, read the beginning of The Name of the Wind. Yeah, we did that on the last stream. Very good opening. A Silence in 3 parts. I have heard of the Iron Druid Chronicles, Joe DeGotti, by Kevin Hearn. Yeah. Great series. Long live the Oxford comma, says Jack Ann. Yeah. Oxford comma fans unite. All right, let's do the opening of Pure and Easy. I've not read this, so I believe this is where the prose starts, where the text, the story begins. I've always loved the cover, though. Satyrs don't get enough love in modern fiction. My family's Greek, so I'm a big fan of all things Greek mythology. When the moon rose in the third northern hall, I went to the ninth vestibule. Entry for the first day of the fifth month in the year of the albatross came to this. In the year the albatross came to the southwestern halls. There's a lot of stuff right off the bat there. Jumping into the prose. When the moon rose in the third northern hall, I went to the ninth vestibule to witness the joining of three tides. This is something that happens only once every 8 years. The ninth vestibule is remarkable for the 3 great staircases it contains. Its walls are lined with marble statues, hundreds upon hundreds of them, tier upon tier, rising into the distant heights. I climbed up the western wall until I reached the statue of a woman carrying a beehive, 15 meters above the pavement. The woman is 2 or 3 times my own height, and the beehive is covered with marble bees the size of my thumb. One bee, this always gives me a slight sensation of queasiness, crawls over her left eye. Ugh, yeah, I feel that. I squeezed myself into the woman's niche and waited until I heard the tides roaring in the lower halls and felt the walls vibrating with the force of what was about to happen. All right, so that's really interesting. That is really interesting. I'm not sure what to make of this opening, honestly. It's got a lot of yeah, okay, Cage says it's a good story, but not many books like it. Better just to go in blind. I could see that, because honestly, even as someone who writes, full-time for a living, I'm not sure what to make of this off the bat. This is, some stories are like popcorn fiction, right? Like, I say I write popcorn fiction. It's about entertainment. It's just fun. You don't think about it too much. This feels like it leans more towards the side of art, with the way that it begins. There's a weightiness to it, right? There's a weightiness that feels rich, almost. Thundermoth, I added Kings of the Wild to the list. Great book, great suggestion. There's a this almost has a weightiness that feels like rich velvet, right? It's very interesting. I don't even feel necessarily qualified to dissect this one too much. It feels a little bit beyond my artistic limitations. The ninth vestibule is remarkable for the 3 great staircases it contains. So it's very description heavy at the beginning, but it's got this, I don't know, sense of awe to it. It's interesting. Y'all, this is kind of the first one that I've hit that I'm not entirely sure what to make of. I feel like it really needs a little more time to breathe, to kind of read and take it in. Interesting. That's really interesting. I know it was a hugely popular book, so I'm interested to see what comes next. All right, this title, I've not heard of this one, but this was suggested earlier. A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. Book 1 of 2 of the Tithonai Chronicles. And it is by Foz Meadows. That is quite a name. Yes, Lindy, you thought I said vegetable? Vegetable and vestibule. Yeah, they're pretty close. They're pretty close, especially if you slur it a little bit. All right, here's our cover. Really cool cover. I love those autumnal leaves on it. And I love the font too, the way it's all layered through in there. That's pretty sick. I dig it. All right, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. I know nothing about this, y'all, so we're coming in completely blind. Austin, you said House of Leaves, still my favorite book of all time after 20 years. Nice. Yeah, I haven't read that one. I think I've read the opening before, though. I remember it hitting pretty hard. But for the moment, we're on A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. Let's go in totally blind. We'd scarcely entered Father's new lands when I realized how little I cared that I'd never inherit them. It's a good first sentence, y'all. That's a good first sentence. We'd scarcely entered Father's new lands when I realized how little I cared that I'd never inherit them. It was a genteel epiphany, as such things go. Though surprised, I neither reined quip to a jarring halt, nor made any pronouncement to Markle, who was paid to endure my rambling. That's a funny description. Instead, I wondered whether I should pride myself on my apparent humility, a somewhat ironic paradox, to be sure, or worry at my total lack of ambition. Certainly, had my next eldest brother lived to share in the same restrictions, he would have been angry enough for the both of us. But then, Rivik had always been quick-tempered. My missing him didn't change the fact that his death had removed an ugly complication from our father's advancement, though acknowledging it left a bad taste in my mouth. Okay, y'all, there's a lot going on here. This is brutal. Brutal. Y'all just made a new word. Brutal and beautiful. Brutal. There's a lot going on here. Jake Hartman, you say the Devils? Top of your TBR, another Abercrombie? Let me put that in there. I don't know if we'll get to it today. We got a long list. But maybe we'll do that one next time because I do love the Devils. I'm reading it right now, actually. Lovely book. Talking about this one, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. This is interesting. I really like that the prose is a little more advanced. It's a little more longer sentence, more complicated thoughts. It puts you in a mindset of like an older style of fiction writing. When sentences were longer, a little more rambling perhaps. But that gives you a taste of the character, right? We'd scarcely entered father's new lands when I realized how little I cared that I'd never inherit them. That sentence does a lot, right? It says a lot in a little bit of time. So the fact that their father has new lands means that they're probably nobles of some sort. They are landed gentry, one would assume. But he's getting new land, so it feels like they've just been promoted. Something that is, confirmed later on in the paragraph. But then you pair that with, I realized how little I cared that I'd never inherit them. That's really interesting. Like, now I'm wondering about the main character. Why don't they care that they're going to inherit them? Also, why are they not going to why are they not going to inherit them? I say you got to get the readers to ask a question right off the bat. Well, there's 3 questions I'm asking myself in the opening sentence. Really good. Then we get a wonderful feel for the character here. I really like this. It was a genteel epiphany, as such things go. Though surprised, I neither reined quip to a jarring halt, nor made any pronouncement to Markle, who was paid to endure my ramblings. Instead, I wondered whether I should pride myself on my apparent humility, a somewhat ironic paradox to be sure, or worry at my total lack of ambition. I love it. That's such a funny sentence. You wonder whether you should pride yourself on being humble, or if thinking about that makes you not humble, right? It's great. It's funny. No, I like it. It's very interesting. It's made me ask questions. I would want to read more. I think this would be a book that you'd have to kind of settle into because of the way it's written. It's not quick, fast sentences. It's a little more, give it time to breathe, kind of flow with it, I dig it. Very interesting. Thank you, whoever recommended that. I don't remember your name. I apologize. Let's grab one. Here's a classic, y'all. We were recommended Artemis Fowl. What is it? Is it The Arctic Incident is book 1, I think? Or is that book 2? That's book 2. This is not the cover I'm used to, but that's alright. I'm sure they've updated it since it had a bigger push. Let's see. As long as this is book 1, I believe it is. Alright, well, not my favorite cover, but it's the cover that came up. Yeah, Artemis Fowl's a classic, man. I read this book so much as a kid. Absolutely loved it. One of the books that really, really cemented my love of writing. Alright, so there's the cover. It looks like it's been updated for the new series that wasn't too great, at least in my opinion. Oh yeah, Mayor Bear, it's okay if it's not fantasy. We're doing all books here. I mean, we did 1984 earlier, classic literature included. But Artemis Fowl, young adult. So let's read the opening line. It starts with a prologue. Whenever a book has a prologue, I'm always torn between, do we start with the prologue or do we start with chapter 1? But I'm going to make a pronouncement here. I think for going forward, we start with the prologue because the purpose of this is to analyze the opening lines of a book. If the author chose the prologue to go first, then those are the lines they wanted to open with. So we're going to do prologue. So here's the prologue for Artemis Fowl. How does one describe Artemis Fowl? Various psychiatrists have tried and failed. The main problem is Artemis's own intelligence. He bamboozles every test thrown at him. He has puzzled the greatest medical minds and sent many of them gibbering to their own hospitals. There is no doubt that Artemis is a child prodigy. But why does someone of such brilliance dedicate himself to criminal activities? This is a question that can be answered by only one person, and he delights in not talking. Perhaps the best way to create an accurate picture of Artemis is to tell the by now famous account of his first villainous venture. I have put together this report from first-hand interviews with the victims, and as the tale unfolds, you will realize why this was not easy. The story began several years ago at the dawn of the 21st century. Artemis Fowl had devised a plan to restore his family's fortune, a plan that could topple civilizations and plunge the planet into a cross-species war. He was 12 years old at the time. Love it. Absolutely love that. That's a great, 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs with one of them being really short. Tide and Terra, you did not miss Cruel Prince or Throne of Glass. You'll be here for them. Glad to say that. We're doing Artemis Fowl at the moment, and I think this is a really good one. I'm not sure if the book had this prologue when I read it. I wonder if this was added after the series kind of was reignited with the live action movie. Did they do a TV show as well? I don't recall, but there was definitely a movie that I didn't love. I wonder if this was added after the fact, but it's really good, right? How does one... So we know that Artemis is the titular character, right? The book is called Artemis Fowl. So the first line opens with, how does one describe Artemis Fowl? Various psychiatrists have tried and failed. I love that, right? We're introducing the character right off the bat. But what really sells this opening for me is it talks about this villainous plan that could begin a cross-species war, and then it ends on, he was 12 years old at the time. What a wonderful way to draw us in and make the character interesting. And also something I want to flag here is this book is YA, young adult readers, and something that's important in young adult and middle grade is to make sure that the kids feel like the center of the story. From a kid perspective, they want to read about kids their own age, right? So it's important to establish that Artemis is the age of the reader, thereabouts. And I think this is a great way to do that. Anna, yes, Artemis Fowl is kind of like Percy Jackson, but instead of gods and Greek gods and all that stuff, it's more about humans and the myths of fairies and leprechauns and such, taken into an interesting new direction. It's good. It's YA, but it's very good. You would get Percy Jackson vibes from it. A little more of like a heist novel type feel, though. It's a good series. I grew up on it. Very much a millennial kids YA book. Big fan of it. All right, let's grab something a little more recent, y'all. How's about... Well, Tide and Terra, you're back, so let's get the one that you wanted, since you're here. You wanted Throne of Glass, right? Let's do Throne of Glass. I have not read this one, but I had looked into it recently and kind of thought that it had more fantasy chops than I thought. It is one of those, it's one of the famous romantasy books that have been having a moment, big moment lately in publishing. Oh wait, is this a different one? Is this not what I thought? Oh, no, this is a different one. This is not what I was thinking of. I was thinking of, it's another Sarah J. Maas book, or Moss, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But, so I guess this will be new to me. And here we go, here's our cover. That is not the original cover. Yeah, Cat Dead, you say updated art? I think so. I think this is different. I recall a different cover. But let's give it a read. I believe it's fantasy, right? Thank you. Yes, I am thinking of A Court of Thorn and Roses, Tide and Terra. You're absolutely right. But here we go. Opening lines of Throne of Glass. Interesting title. Chapter 1. After a year of slavery in the salt mines of Indovier, Selena Sardothian was accustomed to being escorted everywhere in shackles and at sword point. Most of the thousands of slaves in Indovier received similar treatment, though an extra half-dozen guards always walked Selena to and from the mines. That was expected by Ardland's most notorious assassin. What she did not usually expect, however, was a hooded man in black at her side. And there was now. Okay, so, analyzing this, it immediately establishes the character as someone prominent and dangerous. After a year of slavery in the salt mines of Indovier, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but we'll take a shot at it. Selena, is that how you say that? Celaena? Selena? Selena, maybe? Selena was accustomed to being escorted everywhere in shackles and at sword point. So I say you got to make people ask a question, right? It makes you go, why? Why was she escorted like that? Most of the thousands of slaves in Indovir received similar treatment, though an extra half-dozen guards always walked her to and from the mines. Building up the character, right? Making you wonder why, right? Another question. They're making you ask another question. And then answered. That was expected by Ardalan's most notorious assassin. What she did not usually expect, however, was a hooded man in black at her side, as there was now. He gripped her arm as he led her through the shining building in which most of Indovir's officials and overseers were housed. They strode down corridors, up flights of stairs, and around until she hadn't the slightest chance of finding her way out again. So this is a typical inciting incident, right? You're getting a little bit of backstory. It's making you wonder a little bit about the character. And then we're off to the races. Just right off to, and what's happening here? Why is it different? Why today? That's an important question when you're starting a book, is why today? Why did we start the book right here? There needs to be an event, an inciting event, that is why the story should start here. And this one is a change in her schedule, a change in what she's been used to. I believe the back cover blurb, in a land without magic, an assassin is summoned to the castle. She has no love for the vicious king who rules from his throne of glass, but she has not come to kill him. She has come to win her freedom. So that gives you a little bit of insight of what's going on there in the opening. But yeah, there we go. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Is it Moss or Mass? I don't know. Anna, you've been looking for 11/22/63, so we'll pull on into that one. I got you. So y'all, if you don't know, this is a Stephen King book dealing with time travel, I believe. My wife read it. You think it's pronounced Moss? Okay, thank you, Cat Dead. Sarah J. Moss. That's how it would appear. That's what would make sense to me. I've just heard enough people say Mass that I was doubting myself. But here is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. It's about the JFK assassination and some time travel, I believe. My wife read it and gave me kind of the rundown. So let's do it. I don't know much about this aside from some snippets here and there. That's a pretty funny dedication. Is that to a new child, a grandchild maybe? Hey honey, welcome to the party. We have not done 3 yet, Josiah R. Anderson, but it's on the list. 3 by Ted Decker, if that's the one you're thinking of. All right, here we go. Opening of 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I have never been what you'd call a crying man. My ex-wife said that my non-existential emotional gradient was the main reason she was leaving me, as if the guy she met in her AA meetings was beside the point. Christy said she supposed she could forgive me not crying at her father's funeral. I had only known him for 6 years and couldn't understand what a wonderful, giving man he had been. A Mustang convertible as a high school graduation present, for instance. But then, when I didn't cry at my own parents' funerals, they died just 2 years apart, dad of stomach cancer and mom of a thunderclap heart attack while walking on a Florida beach. She began to understand the non-existent gradient thing. I was unable to feel my feelings, in AA speak. All right, that's an interesting opening right there. Introducing the character immediately, getting a little bit of comedy in there. I like that. Griffin Dorky, you got to head out. Hey, have a good one, my guy. Thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to have you. Have a great Wednesday. And when I see you next, it'll be Fantasy Map Friday. Tune back in for it. So let's look at this opening to 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I have never been what you'd call a crying man. My ex-wife said that my non-existent emotional gradient was the main reason she was leaving me, as if the guy she met in her AA meetings was beside the point. So we're getting characterization right off the bat. And then a little bit of comedy. I really like the... She could forgive me for not crying at her father's funeral. I had only known him for 6 years and couldn't understand what a wonderful giving man he'd been. A Mustang convertible as a high school graduation present, for instance. Love that little aside. Now, I love the little aside. I love that you get a snippet of comedy from the character, a little bit of personality there. A good opening. It takes its time getting where it's going, but it's a big book, I know that. And it's Stephen King, so you know it'll be good. Guess we'll do one more paragraph here. I have never seen you shed tears, she said, speaking in the flat tones people use when they are expressing the absolute final deal breaker in a relationship. Even when you told me I had to go to rehab or you were leaving. This conversation happened about 6 weeks before she packed her things, drove them across town, and moved in with Mel Thompson. Boy meets girl on the AA campus. That's another saying they have in those meetings. I didn't cry when I saw her off. I didn't cry when I went back inside the little house with the great big mortgage either. The house where no baby had come, or now ever would. I just lay down on the bed that now belonged to me alone and put my arm over my eyes and mourned. Tearlessly. Oof, boy. That's brutal. And all right, so like I said, sets the character, sets the scene. There's a lot more in that book, I know. Anna, you said if you jump ahead a few pages, you see the payoff for the never crying thing. Well, look, I'll say King did a good enough job there that I was enticed to continue reading. I would have continued reading for that payoff. Beyonce 12 said, "Have you read R. Scott Bakker? He's a philosopher that wrote an epic fantasy through the lens of Phil." The philosophy maybe got cut off. I am aware of R. Scott Bakker. I think I've read at least one of his books. Not certain though. He gets suggested fairly. I'm pretty sure we've done one of them on stream because he gets suggested a lot. But y'all, hey, welcome in everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. I am author Alex Knight. If you don't know, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. We do a different thing each day. Today we are reading the opening lines of books that y'all have suggested. We're going to pick our next book here in a moment. We're going to vote on it. So I'll pull two, and we're going to do a vote to see which one to read next. But y'all, I appreciate you being here. And if you don't know, make sure you come back on Friday because we are going to be making a fantasy map live on stream. It's this one up top here. We've been working on it for a couple weeks. That'll be Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. And if you don't know me, folks, these are my books. If you want to support the stream, please do pick one up. They're all on Amazon. And the one that I'm really pushing these days is Wriggly Little Hands. It is a fantasy comedy about goblins on a road trip. We read the opening lines of it earlier, but I can give them to you off the top of my head because I do know them by heart. Goblins are like if cats, hairless cats, had thumbs and learned to walk on two legs. But while cats are allowed to commit as many crimes as they want on account of being cute and small, the same hasn't been true of goblins ever since they discovered arson. Feel free to pick it up on Amazon. It's funny, it's goofy, it's got some cute goblins in it. But today, folks, we are doing opening lines, and I said we were going to vote on the next one. So we have a couple more books on the list. I'm going to pull two of them. The first to get 5 votes is going to be the one we do next. So option number 1 is going to be Kings of the Wild. I'm blanking on the author name. I should know it. Kings of the Wild. There we go. Nicholas Eames. I knew it was Nicholas. So Kings of the Wild. Let's pull the cover up so we can get it and we can see it. That is option 1 here, folks. It's fantasy with comedy elements. Fun adventure story. The next option is going to be Jitterbug Perfume by Tom. Is it Tom? Tom Robbins. Now, I don't know this one, but it has been quite requested. So let's pull up its cover as well. And we're going to grab the cover here. So, this is going to be option 2, Jitterbug Perfume. Option 1 is Kings of the Wild. Y'all, we'll do votes. Kings of the Wild's going here. Jitterbug's here. First to 5 is what we're doing. So, voting starts now. There's one for Jitterbug. All right. Jitterbug's got 1. Kings of the Wild's got 1. Jitterbug's got 2, 3. Jitterbug's got 4. One more and it's there. Kings of the Wild with 2. Wild with 3. Jitterbug with 5 and 6. All right, Jitterbug getting there. We will still do Kings of the Wild, y'all. It's just not going to be this moment. We're going to start with Jitterbug, which has won the vote. So a popular one. A lot of people were mentioning it. Let's pull up the title. I know nothing about this. I know nothing about this book, but we're going to give it a look. Jitterbug Perfume by Tom Robbins. Going in completely blind. Let's check out this sample. All right, I think that's where I said we start with opening lines. So we're going to start with right here off the bat. Today's special. The beet is the most intense of vegetables. I love that line off the bat, y'all. What a great opening line. One, I think Dwight Schrute wrote it. Two, it immediately catches your attention and makes you just go, what? Say you want your opening line to make the reader ask a question. Well, I have asked a question. What are we doing here? The beet is the most intense of vegetables. The radish, admittedly, is more feverish, but the fire of the radish is a cold fire, the fire of discontent, not passion. Tomatoes are lusty enough, yet there runs through tomatoes an undercurrent of frivolity. Beets are deadly serious. Slavic peoples get their physical characteristics from potatoes, their smoldering inquietude from radishes, their seriousness from beets. The beet is the melancholy vegetable, the one most willing to suffer. You can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. The beet is the murderer returned to the scene of the crime. The beet is what happens when the cherry finishes with the carrot. The beet is the ancient ancestor of the autumn moon, bearded, buried, all but fossilized. The dark green sails of the grounded moon boat stitched with veins of primordial plasma, the kite string that once connected the moon to earth, now a muddy whisker drilling desperately for rubies. Holy cow! That's some writing right there. I have no clue what's happening, and I am so on board for it. What an opening. Yeah, Jaden, I fully agree with you, my guy. This is a very intriguing opening. I've never read this before, and I'm already having a blast. Ben Yonsei, I'm a huge Discworld fan. Honestly, speaking of, this feels like a Discworld opening. Y'all, I'd never heard of this book before, Jitterbug Perfume, but I am here for it. I might have to put this one on my to-be-read pile, because I am thoroughly intrigued. Look, if we break it down, I always say opening line, make the reader ask a question, catch their interest. Jaden, you want to read a sentence of chapter 1 from this current book? Because we can pop ahead, and we can do that as well. Seattle. Priscilla lived in a studio apartment. It was called a studio apartment because art is supposed to be glamorous, and landlords have a vested interest in making us believe that artists prefer to sleep in their workrooms. Real artists almost never live in studio apartments. There isn't enough space, and the light is all wrong. Clerks live in studio apartments. File clerks, shop clerks, law clerks, community college students, elderly widows, and unmarried waitresses, such as Priscilla. The building in which this particular studio apartment donned its false beret was built during the Great Depression. In Seattle, there are many such buildings, anointing their bricks in the rain on densely populated hillsides between Lake Washington and Elliott Bay. Architecturally, its plain facade and straight lines echoed the gown Eleanor Roosevelt wore to the inaugural ball, while its interior walls still reproduce faithfully the hues of the split pea mush dished up in the hundreds of soup kitchens. Whew, boy. Y'all, this is some serious prose. Remember when I said that Douglas Adams had the confidence to just start with a meandering opening that just gives you a vibe of the book? It doesn't get right to the plot, doesn't hook you with a dramatic statement. It just like vibes its way through the opening. That's confidence, and that's exactly what's happening here. This author, what is it, Tom Robbins? Tom Robbins, man, talent for description. Like, this is very insightful and interesting. Just kind of wander through the story. Man, this is good. I have never heard of this before. I see why it was so highly recommended, y'all. Jitterbug Perfume by Tom Robbins. Holy cow. I'm going to do this opening paragraph one more time because this is so good. The beet is the most intense of vegetables. The radish, admittedly, is more feverish, but the fire of the radish is a cold fire, the fire of discontent, not of passion. Tomatoes are lusty enough, yet there runs through tomatoes an undercurrent of frivolity. Beets are deadly serious. What a book, y'all. That's awesome. I'm going to leave that one open in my background because I need to look at that after stream. Absolutely sick. Austin, I've not done This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'm running out of time today, so tune in for the next one. We'll definitely get it. Because I know that's a very popular book, but Kings of the Wild lost the vote, so we're not going to jump to it immediately. We'll do one more first. So let's grab one more book before we do that one. There's got to be a little penalty for losing the vote, you know. Y'all, I'm going to pull up Dungeon Crawler Carl because one, Matt Dinniman is an awesome dude. Two, he's an awesome writer. Three, this is a book that's really popping off right now. And I think there'd be a lot of insight gained from looking into it. So this is the mass market cover that they're pulling up here. It's had some pretty. Let me see if I can grab one of the different covers. Come on, give me the one with the character on it. It's fun. All right, we're gonna find it. There we go. I guess it's the audiobook cover. This is a bit the one. I guess it works for the paperback as well. This is the cover I'm more used to seeing. I don't know if it's the original. I think it is. But speaking of tone, right off the bat, our cover is our main character is running around in heart spotted boxers with a cat being chased by goblins on a giant killdozer. So you know this is going to be an interesting one. Anyway, there's the new cover. Let's pop into Dungeon Crawler Carl real quick. Mare Bear beats Battlestar Galactica. Perfume. Love it. Alright, y'all. Dungeon Crawler Carl is one of the first lit RPGs to really blow up to the mainstream. It's a very funny book with kind of horror undercurrents. But don't pay attention to those. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because, boy, this text is small. Wow, that put me all the way to chapter 2. Zooming in. There we go. Nice little art of Princess Donut there, right at the top. The transformation occurred at approximately 2:23 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. As far as I could tell, anyone who was indoors when it happened died instantly. If you had any sort of roof over your head, you were dead. That included people in cars, airplanes, subways, even tents and cardboard boxes. Hell, probably umbrellas too, though I'm not so sure about that one. I'm not gonna lie. You guys who were inside, probably warm and asleep and dreaming about some random bullshit, I'm jealous. You're the lucky ones. You were just gone, splattered into dust during the transformation. It was a Tuesday and the calendar had just ticked over to January 3rd. A terrible winter storm had descended on North America and half the country was buried in snow and ice. In Seattle, we didn't have too much snow that night, but it was well below zero, which was unusually cold, even for January. I'm sure in other parts of the world, where it was warmer and not in the middle of the night, many more people survived. Many more. I also bet most of them were probably wearing more clothes than I was at the time of the incident. And those jerks were smart enough not to go into the light. Me, I didn't have a choice. Like I said, it was below freezing. I was outside and I was wearing boxers, a leather jacket, and a pair of pink Croc sandals that barely fit me. I was also crying. I was also holding a crying, scratching, squirming, and spitting cat named Princess Donut, the Queen Anne Chonk. So how's that for opening lines? It's a wonderful book, y'all. I love how this just puts us right into it. It makes you ask questions immediately, right? That's the most important thing to do. I've said it many times today, but it's so true. You got to make the readers ask a question. That's how you do a good hook. And I think this one makes us ask a few questions. With the opening line, the transformation occurred at approximately 2:23 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. What transformation? As far as I could tell, anyone who were indoors when it happened died instantly. Whoa, okay. Ramping it up on that second line. If you had any sort of roof over your head, you were dead. That included people in cars, airplanes, subways, even tents and cardboard boxes. Probably umbrellas too, though I'm not so sure about that one. Great opening. The book only gets more zany from here. I highly recommend you giving it a read, especially if you've never read lit RPG before. It's a little bit of a sleeper genre, a little more niche, but it's blowing up lately. I got my start in lit RPG. It's a great genre, and big shout to Matt Dinniman and Dungeon Crawler Carl. Y'all, this is the funniest dark book you'll ever read. And yes, shout out in chat. Who said that? Bingo Bongo. For anyone curious, the audiobook's one of, if not the best you've ever heard. Absolutely, dude. Jeff Hayes on the audiobook of Dungeon Crawler Carl. Amazing. So good. Where's my Amazon page for it? Was it right here? Yeah, here we go. Highly recommend the audiobook version. Let me pull it up. Try not to cough into your mic. The audiobook's incredible, very well acted, and I just little brag. I gotta do a little brag. If y'all like Jeff Hayes and you like his narration, well, you should check out the audiobook for my book, Wriggly Little Hands, because well, where is he? Right there. Jeff Hayes is on the audiobook. I can't believe it. They surprised me with that when they did the audiobook. But yeah, Jeff Hayes does the voice of the Dark Lord in my comedy fantasy, Wriggly Little Hands, as well as a whole bunch of regulars from Sound Booth Theater. It's a comedy fantasy, not lit RPG, but it fits very much in the vein of the cozy comedy or cozy fantasy, kind of Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams type world. And y'all, you can grab it on Amazon. It's Kindle, audiobook, paperback. It's in Kindle Unlimited. Check it out. I'd highly recommend it. And I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Bingo. I hope you enjoy it. If you give it a read, man, it's a goofy one. If you like the humor of Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's pretty on brand for that. How long is it? Jaden, if we go by audio hours, it's like, what, 10 and a half, I think? It should say in here. Yeah, 10 hours, 28 minutes. If you go by the paperback version, 353 pages. And we have fun little art doodles at the beginning of each chapter. That kind of set the tone. Like this. It's hard to see with the green screen messing it up, but right there. So it's a fun one. Please do give it a look. It'll support the stream. But that's enough about me, guys. Let's do another book. We had Kings of the Wild, right? Yeah, Bingo. We definitely take recommendations. I have the list is filled up today. In fact, I'm not gonna get to them all, so I'm gonna save these for the next one. But if you want to throw one on there, certainly. We'll have to do it on the next stream. But yeah, please do let us know. Stinky Boy said, how many books do you have under your belt? I have published 10 now. I have written 12. I have 2 more that are in the publishing trenches that are coming out. But here's my book ones. These are lit RPG down here. These are fantasy up here. And you can get them all on Amazon, Audible. They're all ebooks, audiobooks, paperbacks, hardbacks for this one as well. Please do look it up. Like I said, I got my start in lit RPG with this series down here, Warden of the Nova Online trilogy. That's probably what I'm best known for in lit RPG. But the other big one right now has been Wriggly Little Hands. So please, yeah, give them a look if you're interested. I'd appreciate it, y'all. All right, back here, we're going to do Kings of the Wild. Oh, Austin, you said you met Justin and the Sound Booth guys recently. Dude, rock on. Justin's great, right? Sound Booth Theater's incredible. Justin's my main point of contact there, and what a great guy. Dude's awesome. You said you're an audio narrator yourself. You're looking to join them soon. Hey, fingers crossed, man. Get in there. I'm pulling for you. That's awesome. We love our audio narrators. Joey, can I request you review my mom's book, even though it's not a normal story-like book? Hey, throw it on here, Joey. We do all sorts, not just big books. So yeah, drop the name. Stinky Boy, you said the Far Wild cover looks so cool. Well, thank you, Stinky. Here, I'll pull it up big for you. Here's the Far Wild. That one is fantasy thriller. It's kind of like Jurassic Park. I read the opening lines earlier, but we can pull it up again just real quick. It is one of my favorite openings that I've written. So since it's an opening line stream, we get a sip of water. We'll do the opening real quick of this. And then we'll pop over to Kings of the Wild. Do a book that I didn't write. Stinky Boy, that is a gargantuan Komodo, as it is described in the story. We have near dinosaur-like animals in this wilderness, and some fantasy ones that were invented. That Komodo back there is actually inspired by a creature that did exist. Blanking on names, like Megalania, something like that. It's a prehistoric Komodo that was a lot bigger than current ones. I sized it up a little bit for the story. And here's the opening lines. People say the far wild is where you go to die. You'll drown on the voyage there. You'll waste away from the bleeding fever. You'll get eaten by some monstrous beast. But what else can you expect from the masses? Their ambition stops with what's for supper. The far wild's where you go to die? Ha! The far wild's where I came to live. I don't want much, just wealth beyond measure, fame beyond reason, and maybe a small kingdom somewhere warm. And as the quickest blade this side of the empire, with a devilish charm and the looks to match, I might add. It's only a matter of time before the masses are singing songs of my glory, singing songs of Senecio, Suleiman, Nicolau. But I've never been one for waiting, so of course I'd hired a biographer. A gentleman adventurer like myself requires someone to record his adventures, someone skilled in wordplay, someone studied in the great works of art, someone who, on occasion, makes for excellent bait. Izzy, big Cloudward Ho vibes. Yeah, my dude. That's really funny. Yeah, there are skyships in this, and I am on episode 3 of Cloudward Ho right now. That's very flattering. Thank you for saying that. No one has ever compared my work to Dimension 20. I love that. Thank you. Y'all, if you're interested in this one, the Kindle and the ebook and the paperback are great. I don't want to not recommend the audiobook, but I will say that Audible took a gamble on the audiobook, and they used a different narrator for each POV character. So you have 3 different narrators reading each POV. People didn't love it. We learned a lesson the hard way on that one. I would say stick to the Kindle or the paperback on this one, unless you're okay with switching narrators in the audiobook, because we tried something new, didn't land. People were not happy about that. But thank you for your interest, everybody. Melissa, you almost spelled Wendigoir right. It's just W-E-N instead of W-I-N. You're so close, but yes, beware of the Wendigoir. And the narrators are great in that book. It's just that people didn't like having 3 of them. It kind of broke up the flow. All right. We said that we would do Kings of the Wild, so let's get to Kings of the Wild. I think this will be our last one for the stream today. But everyone, the rest on the list, so just as a review, the rest of the list, we have Dragon Watch by Brandon Mull, Kingdom Come by Mark Wade, 3 by Ted Decker, The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, Cruel Prince by Holly Black, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Those did not make it in today, just ran out of time, but we're going to do them. We'll start the next one with those. And as a reminder, folks, our next stream is going to be Friday, and we're going to be making fantasy maps live on stream. Maps like these. This one up top's what we're working on. So Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time, come on in. We'll be working on the fantasy map for Wriggly Little Hands, my comedy fantasy that we read the opening lines of earlier. So yeah, pop on by on Friday. I'll be happy to have you. But for now, we need to do Kings of the Wild, and then we'll chat for a little bit, and then I got to get on to my work day. But y'all, let's do Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. Nice guy. Talked with him a bit back in the day. We were mutuals on Twitter, kind of when his book blew up, and I was in the author grind at that point. Obviously very happy for him. Seems like a nice guy. Love to meet him in person one day. So, Kings of the Wild. Let's, here we go. I don't remember this opening. It's been years since I read this book, but I do remember enjoying it. Chapter 1, A Ghost on the Road. You'd have guessed from the size of his shadow that Clay Cooper was a bigger man than he was. He was certainly bigger than most, with broad shoulders and a chest like an iron-strapped keg. His hands were so large that most mugs looked like teacups when he held them, and the jaw beneath his shaggy brown beard was wide and sharp as a shovel blade. But his shadow, drawn out by the setting sun, skulked behind him like a dogged reminder of the man he used to be, great and dark and more than a little monstrous. Love the opening. Great description of character. There are different ways to do openings, guys. I've talked about how you want to make the readers ask a question. This one's a little light on the question, more focused on the character himself. It's trying to sell you on a character who was, well, once more than they are. I love the description of it. You'd have guessed from the size of his shadow that Clay Cooper was a bigger man than he was. And then goes on to describe a quite large man with a chest like an iron-strapped keg and a jaw as sharp and wide as a shovel blade. I love that description. Finished with work for the day, Clay slogged down the beaten track that passed for a thoroughfare in Coverdale, sharing smiles and nods with those hustling home before dark. He wore a watchman's green tabard over a shabby leather jerkin, and a weathered sword and a ruffled scabbard on his hip. His shield, chipped and scored and scratched through the years by axes and arrows and raking claws, was slung across his back. And his helmet, well, Clay had lost the one the sergeant had given him last week, just as he'd misplaced the one given to him the month before. And every month since the day he'd signed on the watch, almost 10 years ago. Man cannot keep track of his helmets. Now, great opening, character heavy. Not necessarily how I do it, but like I say, art is subjective, and The Kings of the Wild sold a fair few more copies than my books have. Plus, I just love the description of Clay. This is a very character-centric book, so it's important to start with that. I think it's a good choice. So yeah, there's our last one for today, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. New Guardian, you were reading it before grad school took over your life. Oh, I can only imagine, y'all. That's tough. Grad school is busy, hard work. Folks, thanks for joining me today. It was a pleasure to have y'all here. I hope you enjoyed the opening lines. I hope we learned something a little bit together. We read some great ones today. I was a big fan of a lot of those. Jitterbug Perfumes got my ranking for #1 of the day. I really enjoyed that. I hope y'all did too. Thanks for being here. And as a reminder, folks, Friday, Fantasy Map Friday, we're going to be working on our fantasy map up here live on stream, 7 a.m. Central Time. Come on back for that. Always a big stream. Typically my biggest one. So thanks for being here. We'll see you on that one. Guys, as always, I have been author Alex Knight. These are my books. If you want to support the stream, please do go pick one up. They're on Amazon. Links in my bio. They're there as any format you could want. And if I had to recommend one, this is the one I'd go with right now, Wriggly Little Hands. Please do pick it up. Give it a look. Izzy, etc. We on Friday we'll be doing the fantasy map building, and I'll be taking, as we do that, I'm also, any day I'm streaming, I'm also taking questions about author life, about writing, about publishing, etc., etc. Which, oh, you know what? Speaking of, who asked that? I saw a question earlier that I meant to reply to. Flesh over Chrome. If you're still here, you still here? I can talk about your question real quick. Are you still? Yes, you're still here. Great. I will answer your question. You asked what it's like working with Audible. Let's see. Let me get the exact wording. You said, how does one work with Audible, if you don't mind me asking? Of course, yeah, I'll totally talk about that. But Izzy, yeah, so Mondays, what we typically do are I write my next book on stream, and we do writing sprints where for 5 minutes I write, and I encourage y'all to write along with me. And then in between, we do Q&A about reading, books, writing, author life, publishing, all that sort of stuff. Wednesdays are typically opening line streams. We do what we did today. Not always guaranteed, but it's been pretty successful. People really like it. I think there's a lot of value in it. So we'll do that Wednesdays. Friday is our Fantasy Map Fridays, and that's always a big one. Big stream on those Fridays. And then sometimes on the weekends you'll get a random, who knows, stream. Maybe we're playing video games, maybe we're just talking. Those are never scheduled, those just happen. But yeah, you can, the schedule is in my bio, in my link tree. Feel free to click in there and check it out. But Flesh over Chrome, you said, what is it like working with Audible? So the way it works, and this is most audiobook publishers, the way it works is once you have a finished book, you query them to see if they're interested in purchasing the audio rights before publishing typically, but it can happen afterward as well if the audio rights haven't been purchased. You basically query them like you would a literary agent, or like you would submit a manuscript to a publisher, and just kind of gauge their interest, see if it's something that they might want to pick up. For the Far Wild specifically, Audible actually approached me to write that one. They were seeking books for their Audible Originals program. So they approached me looking for fantasy books, and I conceptualized and pitched that book to them, and they liked it, so they purchased the rights to it. And then I went ahead and wrote it and self-published the rest of it. They did the audiobook. So it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. But that's typically how you work with audio publishers. You would pitch them your book, your manuscript, once it's written, engage their interest. Also, a great shout from Harpy. Thank you, one happy Harpy. Y'all, we have a Discord community. If you want to jump on in there, we'd love to have you. It is in the link tree in my bio, but also I can paste that link in here real quick. The Discord is just a community for us all to hang out once stream's over. Be a part of the community. We'd love to have you. I've dropped it there in TikTok. Let's drop it in YouTube. Feel free to join us there. But, folks, what a good stream it's been today. Thank you very much for being here. As always, a special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for the use of his songs Farm, Manor, Cottages, and Northern Glade, which provided our background music today. Let's crank that background music. Play it on the way out. A special thanks as well to community member Raffi the Engineer, who made our 5th background song, Midnight at the Round Table. Raffi made that just for stream. Raffi, thank you, my friend. And then I also want to give a shout out today to our new moderators who are helping chat as the stream's been growing. So thank you very much to Melissa Lee, 28, Raffi the Engineer again, One Happy Harpy, Simp 1X, other name wasn't available, and Aaron Winnick, our mods who help the chat stay nice and flowing, keeping the questions coming, keeping the vibes up. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much for that. I look forward to having you in all future streams. Finally, folks, let me give a shout out to everybody who's hanging out with us today. Melissa Lee, Harpy, Izzy, etc. Raffi the Engineer, other name wasn't available, Sloyd, Simp1X, and Leisha T. Thank you so much for being here, y'all. Impage Studios, great to see you, buddy. The Universal Light, Blaze Gaming, Advelios Archives, good to see you again. Hoob, Pork1012, Cameron Stevens 12, y'all. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. DG, Bruner P. Band J, Antiquity, the historical writer, Imminent UFO. That's a good one. Antiquity, good to see you again, my friend. Chloe Martin, Kevin Book Rock Talk, Goofy Tyler, Zamza315, Andrew Tran. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Pleasure to meet you. Marcus, user 636981918247, Dazed and Mostly Confused. Lee, Mateo, Che, Trevor, Arthur Opod, DRC, and Greg Bookman81, y'all. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back on Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. We're going to make some fantasy maps on stream, y'all. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited. I can't wait to see you. Beef, you said you remind me of Germa in the best way possible. I'm not aware of Germa. I'll have to look him up. But thank you, I think. Izzy, etc. As someone trying to write a novel, I'm so glad I found you. Oh, Izzy, well, thank you for being here. I'm glad you found this as well. This started as a writing advice stream, and we still try to do that. So please, if you're having trouble, if you got questions about writing, ask them here. We love talking about that. And definitely jump into the Discord. I'll post that link again. You can also pull it off my bio if you want. But it's a wonderful community. We're almost at 200 members in there. And we share writing advice. We critique each other's writing. Share pet pictures, of course. All that fun stuff. So we'd love to have you there. So Izzy, thank you for being here today. It was a pleasure to meet you. Everybody else as well, thank you for being here. I had a blast. I hope you did. And folks, we're going to be back Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time. I will see you then. Let's make some fantasy maps. Y'all, have a good Wednesday. Have a good Thursday. Let's finish out this week. Be excellent to each other, and I will catch you next time, folks. Peace out.